good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning. I don't know when you're listening, but whenever you are, I am glad that you are. You're listening to Unpopular Opinions. I'm Ryan Tofil. That's Dan Brown. Before we get into stuff, a quick word from eToro.
Oh yeah, eToro guys, you, me, and BTC.com/trade will get you to their social trading platform. They've got 14 cryptos already: Litecoin, Dash, Ethereum, of course Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and tons of others. Stellar, IOTA, those are some that I can remember. You can trade cryptos. You can buy them. You can sell them. You can sign up in 2 minutes and they'll give you a virtual portfolio worth $100,000 of virtual money, of course. And hey, they've been around longer than Bitcoin. They've been a thing since 2007 and they've got 10 million users. So they know what they're doing over there. You can find them at BTC.com/trade. Then they'll know we sent you and we'd appreciate your support through that.
We'll get right into it. Other than trading on eToro lately, Dan, outside of our podcasts, which take up probably 18, 20 hours a day.
At least, yeah.
We've been playing a little bit of Unstable Unicorns, and I don't know if anybody out there has ever played this game, but it's like a playing card game mixed with a trading card game, kind of similar to Munchkin.
I wouldn't call it trading card.
Well, trading card in the way that you compete against each other and you have your own army, similar to Magic or Pokemon. The only difference is that you're all drawing from the same pool of cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not going out and buying booster packs and hoping that you get better cards in that booster pack than your friend got in his booster pack.
There are expansions, though.
Yeah, there are expansions. You just add it to the game. It's like Cards Against Humanity. Kind of a style of card game where you're all picking from the same central draw pile.
Right.
The difference is once these cards get in your hand in Unstable Unicorns, you play them down on the board and you try to build I just hit my microphone there. You try to build a better army than your friends are building.
It's tough to do.
It is tough to do, and we've definitely never talked about board games or card games on this show that I can remember, at least, and I think I've been here for most of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we kind of got into it. I was at Goodwill and I saw this game for $2.99, and then later the next day, somebody was, or some people were at my house. You were there. And then my fiance had some friends visit from out of town at my house, and anyways, we all ended up playing Unstable Unicorns, and this thing that I picked up for $3 ended up being so much fun that we had a special night, and one person even drove over half hour to come and do nothing but play Unstable Unicorns the next night. So what's your analysis of Unstable Unicorns? I don't care if you want to put it in terms of compared to other card games or board games like it, or just compare it to some other pastime. How does it compare to going out and throwing a frisbee around? I don't know.
Beats frisbee. No, frisbee's fun. Frisbee's real fun. But no, hey, I mean, it's got its flaws for sure. Maybe they're not flaws. Maybe we just haven't mastered it yet. But there are some sticking points at the moment. But I mean, I enjoy it. I'm a huge fan of Munchkin, which has the same kind of flaws. Which I would say the main thing is it's every man for himself, and you're just going for a fixed target goal.
Yeah.
It's you know what? Even Catan has the same thing, because in Catan everyone's going for those 10 points. Yeah. And as soon as you have 9, everyone's focused on you.
Yeah.
And those games are hard to win. Catan is a little more balanced. Catan, everything you do up to that point, you can kind of protect yourself from that. From when you get 9, you can be protected.
Yeah, when you get 8 or 9 in Catan, I mean, nobody's going to trade with you. You're just going to kind of get blackballed. But for the most part, on your turn, you can still pretty much do what you have been able to do the rest of the game.
No one's going to stop you from building a road on your turn.
Right. So in Unstable Unicorns, what you do is you draw a hand of 5 cards, and then you can only play 1 card per turn. And you have some cards in your hand that are unicorns, and then other cards that will be like an instant card or a magic card or an upgrade or downgrade, and those kind of affect your unicorns that are on the field. And the main objective of the game is, depending on how many people you're playing with, either 6 or 7 unicorns in your stable, and your stable is just basically your played cards, like out in the field. So, I mean, it's a ton of fun up until you have 4 or 5 unicorns, and then when you're playing with 7 other people, people know you're about to win, and then it has to go all the way around, and people have 7 shots at you. So, I don't know, we've been having a really, 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 really good time for the first 50 minutes, and then both times we've played, it's really, really slowed down at the end, and I guess we're just kind of hoping that that's a threshold. Maybe somebody can figure out a strategy or something.
I think that is, I'm just guessing here, I've only played a few times, but I think that's those strategies have got to be out there. There's got to be combos that we haven't seen yet that would help someone win. We did learn at the end of our last game that someone probably could have won an hour before we finished, because he could have played a double unicorn and he didn't realize that. So I think there are some combos out there, especially when expansions come into play.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be some more winning a few that were in my head were to there were some cards that would let you steal a unicorn at the beginning of your turn, and then you could then you could get up to 4, so you're not a huge threat. Then at the beginning of your turn you steal one, then you play one to get to 6, which is the goal, and you win. There's also a card that makes you take another turn, which is a huge boost if you have that at the beginning of your turn, do XYZ, because then you get to do that twice. Right. So you could steal 2 unicorns with so I all that to say, I know everyone out there doesn't know what the frick we're talking about.
You're going on about.
But all that to say, I think there are some combos out there that we might be missing and on the lookout for. But even then, even if you're ready, once you find a combo that lets you get 2, if there's one that lets you get 3 on your turn, it doesn't really matter, because you're still going to get ganged up on as it happens. You're going to need to collect the nay cards, which prevent people from naying you. All it does is it prevents someone from doing anything, pretty much. You can play a nay card and they can't do whatever they just did. So you have to stack up your own nay cards so that you can unnay. Whenever you're going to do that winning combo, you need to have some nays on hand to prevent people from naying you.
Yeah. So with the nay cards, I think that the current set of rules would do really, really, really well if people were playing without strategy. But as you're playing, you realize, all I need to do is keep this nay card in my hand, and I can prevent someone from winning on their turn. Which seems like an oversight, but I don't know if that was super accounted for. I think when they're designing the game, they'll be somebody's going to use a nay card early in the game just to screw over their friend and stop them from doing that. If you played nay cards at the same frequency early in the game that you play any other cards, then it would work, because all those would be in the discard pile. But we just haven't really found a way to punch through the end of the game to make it super enjoyable start to finish. But it's so much fun for the first 75% that we're planning on getting a group and playing again this Saturday.
If anyone wants to join us, hit me up.
We played one time Sunday night, and then immediately ordered all of the expansions we could get our hands on, and then played again the next night too.
Yeah, but remember all those times we talked about customer service mishaps on this show?
Yeah, I've talked about a lot of customer service mishaps on this show, but I don't know if this is one of them. What Dan's referring to is we bought an expansion pack, and it looks like it had been printed either by a different company or just a different printer, and the backs of the cards were different on the expansion pack, so we couldn't just shuffle them right into the normal deck. We had to play with the normal deck again, and then I ordered 500 card sleeves, primarily meant for magic cards that we're just going to slip on these unicorn cards, so when we mix in the expansion packs, we can't tell anymore.
Or we could just exchange it and get a fresh deck.
Yeah. So Dan wrote an email to the company, and then they said that okay, they're going to send us a box and I got to send my current version back and then they'll send a new one. But I don't know. Like, honestly, it was so good. And then I found the same game on clearance at GameStop the next day for $10 that I ended up just buying another copy because I don't know why. I guess I liked it that much.
Well, no, so it would fit. So it would fit with the expansion.
But at that point, we hadn't opened the expansion yet, and I didn't know. All I knew is from what I had researched online is there was one different card in the GameStop version. So we were going to give a different card a try, but now the company is offering to exchange my box. I'm like, I got a new one. I don't know if I'm going to go through. Anyways, it's been really, really, really fun, and I'm usually not into board games, but there are a lot of like really silly, ridiculous, funny things about it that it's not really about who wins. And we've gotten a little competitive toward the end of the game, and I think that's been like our downfall. But if we would just try to be like as ridiculous as possible and like screw people over early in the game, it would actually lead to some paths to victory later in the game. Like, I don't think it's meant to be taken that seriously. For sure. But it's just been...
One of the other challenges also comes into play a lot later in the game. And this happens with any card game. It's deadly. Magic, there's like 500 page of rules for Magic. And all these, they keep adding rulings, depending on what happens at tournaments and stuff. It's been a little tough to nail down what the official rules should be, given all the mechanics.
Yeah, and it's not like a huge community or anything. I mean, I don't know if they've got like
Well, Magic has a huge community.
Oh, yeah, Magic does, but Unstable Unicorns is,
right.
You know, that's just probably a few thousand copies of the game out there. I mean, there's a subreddit, and the all-time most upvoted post is at like 50 or something like that. That gives you any indication of how popular it is. I mean,
I'd say more than a few thousand, maybe like 100,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that everybody's heard of. Like, I mean, if 1,000 people listen to this podcast, I'd be really, really surprised if 10 of them had heard of Unstable Unicorns.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't know what it was until I was at Goodwill and I saw it in front of me, and I thought it was weird because usually Goodwill's like got some ratty stuff, and this was like a brand new looking game.
Yeah, they did a Kickstarter is how they started it.
Yeah.
Which is why we must have gotten one of those old ones with, I don't know if it was from the Kickstarter or just an old one, but
yeah,
that's why it's got the different back. But yeah, rules hard to nail down. Like, oh, is this technically a panda when it's in your lasso? That is a real question.
Yeah, and it was a panda. Well, it was a panda once the lasso got it into my stable.
Yeah, what was the most like controversial one? Like we did pretty much agree on that one.
Okay, so there was one card. Well, this was a 2-card combination. I'm going to try to explain it without being too boring. I had a card that was Magical Lasso, and what that let me do was take any unicorn that was in any other person's stable and bring it into my stable. But at the end of my turn, I had to return that unicorn to the original owner's stable. Now, I also had a card on me called Pandemonium, which meant that any of my unicorns, we decided that meant whether in my hand or on my field, in my stable, was a panda. So then there was an argument on whether I actually had to return the unicorn or not, because once it got into my stable, it was a panda,
right.
And the person I was playing against argued that I knew, while I had the panda card on me, that I was never going to be able to return that unicorn, so I shouldn't have been able to carry out the first half of Magical Lasso if I knew I wasn't going to be able to carry out the second half.
Right. Yeah, so basically the long and the short of it is that the card said return the unicorn, but you only had pandas.
Yes.
So you couldn't return the unicorn.
So I think what we ended up deciding was that I did get to keep the unicorn, and we did get to do that because
or keep the panda.
Yeah,
technically.
keep the panda because in a situation like that, whether it's Magic, which is much more complicated, you can't prevent somebody from doing the first part of the card because they might not be able to do the second part. And that's exactly what it was, because I very well could have played a card that removed the pandas from me.
It depends if it's part of the cost. In Magic, if you're supposed to sacrifice something as part of the cost,
yes,
then you can't do it.
But that's like the very first thing.
Right.
It's like a prerequisite for anything else to happen.
Right.
This was saying there's like an order of doing things, and it was like, if this happens and this happens and this happens, then return the unicorn. And there were many chances in there, whether it was a card that was already had been played or not. I didn't know. Maybe my panda card was going to go away during my turn because of something I would play or somebody else would play. And then I would be able to return a unicorn. But at the end of my turn, I only had pandas. I didn't give him anything.
There's a card in Munchkin where,
I've never played Munchkin.
It's fun. It is real similar. Like you build an army, you have upgrades, which would be armor, weapons, and downgrade, like classes. But it's really similar in terms of you just like place everything out in front of you. You have cards in your hand. You do fight monsters. So there's some different
stuff. Is that similar where you draw one per turn and play one per turn? Sort of.
You draw one, you can play as much as you want, and then you can either fight a monster or draw another one. But there's a rule, like the last thing it says in the rule book is if there's any disputes about like how the rules should work or which mechanic takes precedence or who knows what. Mm-hmm. The final decision should be decided by a ton of shouting and screaming.
Yeah.
And the ultimate decision goes down to whoever owns the game.
Yeah, I think that was in Unstable Unicorns. I believe we looked it up, and it said that if you couldn't find a definitive ruling on something, then you had to defer to the owner of the game. I don't know why, I just forgot what I was going to say there.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, I guess. It's all you can do at some point.
But I know that in, like, Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! That if there was ever, like, a dispute over things that was basically, like, can you do this or can't, you have to... The deciding factor was whatever the card that was the driving force behind this interaction, you follow the rules on that card.
Okay.
So if I don't know if there are any cards that bring things back from being exiled in Magic, but in Magic the Gathering you have a graveyard and then you have exiled, which is like dead. Like you can't even get. As far as I know,
I think there are. I think you can.
Maybe. Well, anyways, the point of something being exiled is that it's pretty much like under no circumstances can this enter back into the game. But then there are cards that will break that rule. And so it was a very similar thing that we were arguing in Unstable Unicorns. It's like, okay, so it's like a rule is kind of like you have to be able to meet all of the requirements on the card. Okay, we can agree on that, but in this situation... You kind of defer to the card that is the driving force behind the action, like I said. Like in Magic, if you played a card that said, like, bring something from exile back into your hand, and the other person's like, wait, it clearly says in the rulebook that, like, once something is exiled, it's gone.
Alright, technical difficulties. There's a chance that we lost that first few minutes there. Don't know. It might be there, it might not be. But we're back now, or we're just starting, possibly.
Maybe we'll figure out if we can get it back, and then we'll come in at a later date and, like, re-record that 15 minutes. Nobody will ever know if it's the original recording or the new recording.
I've had to do that. There were times when I had to... There was maybe some choppy audio no, you know what? Yeah, it was choppy audio, like a loose cable or something.
Yeah.
So I listened back to the entire thing and just repeated what I said for like an hour straight. I just repeated it into the microphone. Man, I used to be a perfectionist. I would edit every single week for probably like 8 hours per episode.
Sounds terrible.
It was.
What was Bitcoin at?
Back then, I mean, $800, $600, $400.
And you're spending that much time talking about this $400 thing.
Yeah, I started the podcast at the peak, one of the first peaks of like $1,200. Well, we started it on its way up, like $800 or $900 on its way up to 12.
Yeah.
But then for like the first year or two, it was just down, probably about a year. About a year, it just was down and down. I don't know how we kept going. Because, after 1,200, then you hit 6,500 and then 400 or whatever for months at a time. You're just like, I don't know how we kept going. I guess I just had nothing else to do. I was in college. I didn't care about school.
Yeah, it had to be about 13 or 14. And my friend was going to cut me a deal. He's got this new thing called Bitcoin, and he's Bitcoin mining. And it's up to like 1,200, and he was going to sell me one for 1,000. And
when you were 13 years old? You said 13 or 14.
The year.
Oh. All right.
Anyways, yeah, so he was going to sell me one for $200 off, and I'm like, holy cow, and it's a good deal for me, and it was a good deal for him, because he probably bought it at like a couple hundred or something. He was very, very, very early. Well, not like spend a few thousand on him to buy a pizza early, but he was way, way earlier than me. And then, it was probably 2 years after that where it like went well under 1,000. I don't know what the low was in the last 5 years.
5 years, the low would be about that 300 mark.
Yeah, 300. So, I mean, I remember thinking that, oh man, I'm glad I'm not some sort of idiot that bought Bitcoin when it was $1,000 a piece, because, what kind of a schmuck would do that? And he had the last laugh, safe to say. He may have lost all the stuff in Mount Gox anyway. Is that Mount Gox?
Mount Gox, yeah.
Mount Gox?
Or empty Gox, as some people like to say.
Empty Gox. Anyways, we spent the first bit of the show talking about Unstable Unicorns, a little bit of a board game that we've been, or card game, I don't know, a table game.
We did cover a bunch of that. So, what if we just go on to other games? And so then if this is the beginning of the show, it's still somewhat coherent.
Okay. What other games do you want to talk about?
Board games? Oh, jeez. I'm a fan of Risk, but nobody ever wants to play it.
Risk is way, 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 way too long. And I grew up playing chess. I was competitive chess player. And
we had a chess streak for a while.
Yeah, you beat me the first time. And
you just had to prove that 400 games in a row now I haven't beat him.
Yeah, but once in a while somebody will get me where they'll know a little bit about chess and I'm not really thinking about it, and yeah, they can get me if it's the first time I've ever played someone. So, I guess I should take people more seriously.
Man, the thing I've said a few times lately, maybe on your show, probably on mine. I've had this running thought for a bit. It's nothing new, but just something I've been musing. That if you want to get good at something, you have to grind. That goes for instrument, work, programming, whatever, streaming, podcasting. Yeah, exactly. So the thing about some games, though, this is probably my state of mind or the way I learn or something. There are some games I feel like where unless I have a coach who's going to explain to me how you can do better.
Mm-hmm.
I could play chess. I could play 5,000 games of chess and not be any better at the end of it. I don't know what I would learn. I don't think I could learn it myself, I guess is what I'm saying. And even, I'm not just saying though, because high strategy is hard to learn.
Yeah.
Even video games. It's different some video games I feel like I could never learn.
With chess specifically, I am by no means a grandmaster, and when I was in first or third grade, I was probably way better at chess than I am right now. But I was decently good for a time. I mean, I finished 4th place in New York State.
You're saying first grade you could beat current you?
Yeah.
Holy balls.
I mean, I started playing when I was between 2 and 3, and then, in 1st grade I went to the New York State Scholastic Championships, and I came in 4th place in the entire state. I remember a magazine used to publish the lists of, who was the top players under 12 in the state. It was called Empire Chess. and it was like a quarterly, not quite a magazine, like a multi-page like booklet type thing. And I don't know, I was probably like 12th in the state of all the kids 12 and under when I was only 5 or 6, and they like used to put exclamation points next to my name.
So, man, first grade, did you have a coach or did you learn it all yourself?
So I didn't really have a coach, but my dad used to, wake up and drive me 45 minutes on Saturday morning. This isn't like the story you hear about people with like hockey tournaments and stuff where they got a game at 7 a.m. that's 8 hours away and their parents are like driving them through the night. It wasn't quite that bad, although I did have a few early mornings for tournaments. But my parents used to drive me about 45, 50 minutes to this chess club that was in the closest thing to a city we had around in my rural neck of the woods. And there was this guy there that taught the kids. So, I mean, I guess he was like a coach. I mean, my parents never paid him or anything. But, my rating was probably a little bit inflated because the way it works, the better people you play against, it's not really like a risk to play against people better than you in chess as far as your rating goes, because you're like expected to lose to them. But if you can pull out a victory every once in a while, it can give a huge boost to your rating.
All right.
And then 2012, I was named the amateur champion of my county, and so I'm not a grandmaster, but I'm better at chess than I am at most things. And one of the things that I remember doing by myself with chess, and it isn't even entirely by myself, but the Buffalo News on like Sundays, they used to have a chess column where it would publish the annotations for games between grandmasters that are played, and it would maybe provide a little insight to why they did. And it wasn't huge, and they probably only had analysis for about 5 out of the 40 moves. But you could play it back in front of you. I mean, this was in the time before you could ever just go on the internet and like look up a chess game. I had a few CDs that may have had famous games on them that it would like provide analysis through, or Maurice Ashley teaches chess. He was like, I don't know if he's a grandmaster or master, but like in the rare event chess ever gets on like ESPN or something, like Maurice Ashley is the guy who will go on and talk about it. So yeah, I don't think without resources I wouldn't have gotten any better at chess. I mean, I used to try to play myself at chess all the time, but even when I was just when I was 5 years old in my room, I still had magazines and stuff in front of me that were talking about chess or giving analysis or tips and tricks and stuff like that. So even when I was by myself, I was kind of being coached a little bit.
Yeah, I guess the reason it's weird to me, like, because I would say the same thing. Poker comes to mind. Like, I played poker, not seriously, but, several times a year with friends growing up. And it wasn't until I started watching a poker player on Twitch that I actually realized, like, holy crap, there's things that you can do to get better.
Yeah.
And I would never have known if I could play, like I said, 5,000 games of poker, and I never would have learned what you could do better until someone had told me. Which I guess is fine, like that's the way some things are. But I guess I would compare that to, like, programming, because I'm a developer, and a lot of times in programming, like, no one tells you what to do. You just figure. I mean, yes, you always just Google how to do something, and then that. So maybe that's the same thing. Maybe it is the same thing, because 90% people say like 90% of a programmer's job is just Google how to do something. But then if you get more advanced, you have to figure it out on your own, which I've definitely learned in my short career.
I think that's where we are on Unstable Unicorns, where we're already about more advanced than any of like the teaching material there is, because it's such a sparsely played game that it's very hard to find like rulings on specific scenarios or something like that.
Yeah, dude, we got to make the rulings. Maybe we should make a website, Unstable Unicorn Judges.
Let's So we're going to play Llamas Unleashed this weekend, which is, I think, just a slightly more complex version of Unstable Unicorns, and then Bradley's going to come on the show with me next week to talk about Llamas Unleashed. And he assures me that he's going to cut together footage of us talking about it on the show, and then us playing the game and like the collection we have built, and then send it off to the producers of Unstable Unicorns and Llamas Unleashed and see if we can't get like maybe a little sponsorship for the show, or like a set of card sleeves sent to us or something.
How much is he assuring you? Is this like Bradley, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all this stuff? Or is this like a real assurance?
Oh, no, it's just him telling me. He isn't guaranteeing that he's going to get, like, free Unstable Unicorn merch.
No, but I'm saying, is he...
Is he actually going to, like, cut the video footage and send it to them? Like,
yeah.
I mean, he's going to probably add them on Twitter. I don't know what else. If you want him to, like, mail a USB drive, they'd probably be too skeptical of that to even plug it in.
The only reason I'm asking is because even this type of video with like just connecting two different videos is it takes a while. You gotta learn some software, shuffle stuff around, render it.
Oh yeah. So he's going to have you send him the file of the show.
And then, so I'm cutting everything.
No, don't cut it, dude. You don't cut anything. Just send him the raw footage, and then he'll cut in some iPhone footage of our collection or whatever.
All right, whatever he says, I trust him. I guess I've only known him for like 3 weeks, so.
I'm trying to get off the smokes, right? Getting stuff into my lungs, and so I've been chewing on these toothpicks, and there are a few different brands out there, and I don't know if I want to call them out, but maybe if I could be like, hey, like we have a very, very, very modest podcast. But you just send us like a carton of them, and I'll give you a positive review, or my honest review, which will be positive, because I love these things. They're nicotine-infused toothpicks.
Dang.
So there's, I used to chew tobacco in high school, and then once I got to college, I got onto like the cheap cigars, and then I switched over to smoking cigarettes for about a semester, where I'd be buying packs, which is really, really weird to think about now. And then I went back to chewing, then I got onto cigars, then I got onto vaping, and then I got onto a pipe. And I realized, like, because I was switching, I was like, oh, I don't really have a dependency on it. It's just something I like to do. So, maybe half a year ago, I was like, let's just see if I can do without nicotine. And I couldn't. It would be like all I would think about after a meal or something. So I switched to like non-tobacco nicotine alternatives, but they're really expensive and kind of inconvenient. Like, I don't know. I don't think the gum tastes that good. Patches are weird. So now I've been trying these nicotine-infused toothpicks.
Yeah, show it off. Look how that looks. Fancy.
And, yeah, so you just get that in your mouth. You look like Razor Ramon, Scott Hall. You got it hanging out the corner. Or, you just tuck it in your cheek just like that. It stabs right through, and you can put a lip ring. But, yeah, I mean, these are, they taste really good. You can get the...
Yeah, what flavor you got there? I don't want to try it.
I mixed them up. So I got this little carrying tube for them, and there are some spearmint watermelon ones and mocha. And those two flavors are like mixed. I don't know which is which. I can't really tell.
Hit or miss.
But they're all pretty good.
Spearmint watermelon.
Yeah.
That's... I always go for fruit/mint. I prefer both if I can get it. In terms of vape, anyway. So that sounds okay. Although spearmint, I had a spearmint vape juice back in the day. I much prefer like a wintergreen or... Well, no, I like spearmint
What's
gum.
What's the difference between spearmint and wintergreen?
Wintergreen's like smoother, like a little softer tang. Spearmint is super tangy, like almost crispy, like you think like pine needles,
That's spearmint?
Yeah.
I think spearmint might be my favorite of like the OG Wrigley's flavors.
Is that the green one?
Well, it's not double mint.
Oh.
Spearmint might come in the white. I don't know, dude. Once the Wrigley's 5-pack went over like a quarter, like, because it used to be like, okay, a quarter. Like, I have a quarter in my pocket. I'll just add this on, or I'll run into the gas station in 1 quarter. You've got yourself like a snack or a pack of gum. And once it got up to like 30 and 35 cents, it just seemed so much less convenient.
Oh, yeah.
It would be like, I don't know. I remember this when pop went up from 25 cents to 50 cents, and then again from like 50 cents to 75 in vending machines.
Well, now it's like $1.25 at least.
Well, it depends. I mean, for a can?
Oh, a can? I don't really use vending machines. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe like 4 or 5 times in my life I've ever like gotten a pop out of a vending machine.
Well, whenever I go to the Walmart, they have Diet RC Cola for 50 cents, and Diet RC is really
In a vending machine?
Yeah, it's really hard.
Why don't you just get a 12-pack if you're already at Walmart?
Because, 1, it wouldn't be cold, and 2, they don't have 12 packs of Diet RC.
Do they have any big packs of it?
No. But I like Diet RC. The original RC and blind taste tests around the country beat Pepsi and Coke. It's like, minus the label, it's America's favorite cola. I don't know if that holds true in the blind taste test for the diet ones, but it's just I like Diet RC. I pretty much only drink Diet Pop, which, I don't know, you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at me, but I like Diet Pop way more. I don't really drink regular pop.
I can't do really sugar lately, except ice cream. Holy crap, I'll eat. Everyone complains like, oh my gosh, I ate the whole pint, but I get down 2 pints.
Yeah, ice cream's good.
But other than that, I can't really do
Are you talking like Halo Top?
No.
Like Ben and Jerry's?
Well, yeah, I've got, I just get store brand. I got Walmart and Costco. But yeah. It's not like none of that crappy lactose-free frozen dessert crap.
Bluebell's good.
It's good, but I can't, man, it is good, for sure. I love it. But I can't bring if I'm looking right next to each other, like 10 cents an ounce, 12 cents an ounce, 10 cents an ounce, I can't bring myself to do it. I just gotta get Walmart brand.
But this is the whole purpose of this, is it's a treat.
Walmart, I guess I just can't tell the difference. Yes, I love Bluebell.
Like, that's the definition of treating yourself. Is like, if you're going to spend the extra 2 cents per ounce on anything, ice cream would be this thing. I guess unless you're doing it so much, it's not like a treat. It's just like part of your diet now.
Well, that's maybe possible. But even
How long has
then,
your wife been out of town?
3 weeks.
And in this time, you have gone from a civilized human being to now ice cream is a meal per day.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
5 weeks, pretty much. She was home for 1 weekend out of the past 5 weeks. But
that's why you've been so much happier lately, is because you just get to eat ice cream for every week.
Yeah. No, but the other factor is, I guess it really comes down to I can't tell the difference. Yes, I love Bluebell, but I also love Walmart.
You want to try a toothpick?
I guess so, yeah, but I don't want any of that mocha crap.
If it's mocha, dude, you're not going to be able to tell. Anyways.
Alright, well, whoever out there makes these toothpicks, hit me up. Daniel at meandbtc.com.
Ooh.
I feel like that's definitely not watermelon spearmint, but maybe it is.
That might not be. I don't know. Kind of smells like the bottom of a shoe. This one is. I can smell mint on that.
Oh, yeah. I'm buzzing now.
They don't call him Dirty Dan Brown for nothing. That has got to be the worst noise for somebody to hear. Like, just like your grandma smacking her gums together.
You're welcome, guys.
Oh, man. Someone just crashed their car. I was listening to that. That was brutal.
Hey, speaking of audio, first of all, I've got some filters on this one, so it might make it a little echoey, because I didn't want to fiddle with the filters again to undo them and stuff. But also,
You're not a fan of the filter fiddle?
Not really. No, I mean, the filter helps when it's one audio stream, but with both of them, I think it hurts. Because I think what's happening is my voice going through your microphone is getting amplified.
Here, I'll turn it like this.
Actually, that's a pretty good call. We should have been doing that all along. But, no, also I was going to say we should get some, soundproof foam crap for these walls here, and then,
You do whatever you want. I mean, we're at your place. This doesn't really affect me long term. I don't know.
How'd you do that, dude? I can't get this,
Yeah, it's all about the angles, man.
Actually, that noise comes through a fair bit, too. Most people have these, springy things that they mount the microphone on so that, bumping it like this doesn't carry through. I don't have no springy thing. Yeah, that's going to carry through.
Really?
Yeah.
I was just knocking on the microphone for anyone who's interested.
In case you wanted to know audio stuff. It's like that grinding thing. If I make podcasts for 5 years straight, that's the type of stuff you pick up.
I don't know if me having these toothpicks in my mouth for one day has, made me better at speaking with them in, but I can tell you have a toothpick in your mouth.
What happened to my toothpick? I was just talking normal out there. You know what to say? Did you like Scrubs?
It was okay. We talked a little bit about this on when we did the Twitch stream together.
We talked about Scrubs?
A little bit, because Turk told his wife something about
actually, we got to follow up on that, because I've still been watching it, and I've still now I got to see if I can even remember them. But, a lot of race jokes. I feel like even,
Yeah, but they were good race jokes about how friendly they were, despite being opposite colors.
Well, that's true between Turk and JD, but then
yeah,
I should have written these down. I gotta get my notes out next time I watch Scrubs. There were some that still kind of surprised me. I mean, making fun of pregnant women.
I was just thinking to myself, taking notes while you're watching Scrubs so you can tell people about it, that. Who's gonna want to hear about that? But then I realized that I just spent a half hour explaining to people about how I was playing a card game called Unstable Unicorns. And I assumed people were caring about that.
Yeah. I mean...
Good analysis!
That's why we're here. I mean, it wouldn't be the same without Unstable Unicorn, toothpicks, and the sunglasses, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, boy. You're a mess right now, you know that?
Also, the sexual jokes, they have that one Todd. The whole point of him being in the show is to make sex jokes, which I guess is the joke. So they're not demeaning women, they're demeaning people that demean women.
Plus that guy has maybe an undefined sexual orientation where he might like women, he might like men, he might like them both, he might like transgender, he might like inanimate objects. You're never really sure, and that's the joke.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's a lot of mitigating circumstances. I just think there's still here and there. There's some stuff that's whoa, that would not fly today.
So mitigating made sense to me. I think I kind of picked up on what you meant. I don't think I could define the word mitigating.
Lessening. So if something's bad, but there's something that mitigates it, it makes it less bad. So, if I, ran someone over with my car, that would be bad. But if I was swerving out of the way of a bus, that would be a mitigating circumstance. You can kind of understand.
Mitigating is making something less bad.
Well, you could mitigate, you could mitigate other things, too. You could mitigate good qualities.
I donated to...
Yeah.
I gave money to a homeless person, but
I don't want anyone to know. Oh, yeah, well, that too. If you said I don't want anyone to know, you might try to mitigate it. I don't want to bring attention to it. I want to lessen it.
Or, okay, but here's what I'm saying, though, dude. If I gave somebody $20, and then I came into work and I was telling everyone what a great guy I am for giving someone $20, am I mitigating the good deed now because it becomes less of a good deed if I've just done it to bring attention to myself?
In a different sense, but yeah, I guess so.
So I've mitigated my act of charity.
Right.
But we don't know if I've made it better by being humble about it or worse by bragging about it.
True. Yep.
I understand the word mitigating even less than 3 minutes ago.
Mitigate most of the time it's circumstances. Mitigating circumstances is what is, circumstances that made the bad thing understandable, less bad.
Right, okay. Like, I don't know, say you stabbed your grandma, but then it comes out that she had said something negative about your favorite football team.
Exactly. And then it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just don't brag about it. Then you would be mitigating the good deed that you did.
Yeah, so you should be humble about it, which is mitigating the good deed, the bad deed. It mitigates the bad deeds.
You want to do litigating now?
What's that?
Oh, just like law stuff. Like
litigation.
It's like arguing about specific points of the law. So if you go to litigation, that means you're going to court to try to figure out what the law is and who did right and who did wrong.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Buzz.
Like buzzing.
I got the pooth tick in.
Is the pooth tick actually doing anything for you?
Not me. No, not the normal.
Your mouth tingly?
Oh yeah, it tastes great.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not. I don't get. I can tell when I'm nicotine buzzed because even a vape, if I have like 3 or 4 hits of the vape in a minute, and I do that for 2 minutes in a row, I'll be feeling it for sure. I can tell when I'm buzzed then. That my heart rate elevates. What?
I don't know. You say it's like some sort of superpower or something. Like you can tell when you're on a nicotine.
No,
buzz.
I was just making it clear that I can tell that I'm not buzzed right now. I was just making sure you believe me. I was
believe you. Why wouldn't I? What? I mean, if you would have just said, "Oh, I'm not really getting the nicotine buzz from it. It's still good though," I would have been like, "Cool." Instead, you had to like justify it because
had to friggin' mitigate that friggin'.
Because
well, if you're gonna believe anything I say, I might as well start telling you. I came from Mars and.
Well, no, I'm not gonna believe that, but just like because of the circumstances. I've seen you smoke a few cigars and stuff, so like I just trust you when it comes to tobacco things. So you could probably slip a nicotine fact by me, and I would believe it because you're Smokey D and everything. I wouldn't believe you when it came to Mars.
I had caffeine gum in like 10th grade. Zing!
Have you ever told your Pepsi Max?
I think I did on somebody's show. I don't know if it was yours or. I just had a bunch of Pepsi Max, had to go to the hospital.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that, no other details.
There aren't that many of it. You know what? The doctors at the time said their best guess, they didn't know much. I guess they knew I had like brownies and pop. And their best guess at the time was an anxiety attack, which at the time, my parents and me were just like, that's not what that was. Like, we just dismissed it. But looking back on it, I'm fairly sure that's what it was. Because my parents had been out of town for like 3 weeks straight. I was in 6th grade, I believe. And I know since then I've had anxiety here and there. And looking back, it was a similar feeling where it's just like, I don't understand. I feel alone. Life is weird. Stuff confuses me. I kind of just want attention. Like, if I just, like, sit in this corner and start crying, is someone going to come pay attention to me? That's kind of what it felt like.
Well, that's a real bummer that it felt like that since then. It wasn't just an overdose on Pepsi Max.
I mean, I'm sure it didn't help. And the brownies. And
anxiety for me has been really weird because I probably went my first 18 to 20 years of life without ever knowing what anxiety was and thinking that anybody who had anxiety was just being like mentally weak. And then we know a lot of conservatives. Everyone has different opinions, so I'm not trying to offend everyone, and I know plenty of conservatives might not have this flaw. But yeah, I would say conservatives tend to have that opinion. So then, I think once I like graduated college, and it was right around the time I quit drinking, I started to understand that I had a little bit of a problem with depression. which is just being like more sad than you should all of the time. Like if you wake up and you're at a base of like a 5 out of 10 happiness, and if something good happens to you, you go up to a 7, and if something bad happens, you go down to a 3. I would just like, my baseline for that was like a 3. And I would just always be feeling like in the back of my mind, like something, I don't know if you've ever, like when I was a kid, my grandma died, but I was kind of like a little too young to have been like too close to her. I understand I wasn't going to see her anymore, but it didn't really like upset me because she had been sick ever since I was born, and I never really like got that close to her. But still, for a few weeks, it was in the back of my mind. It was just like bugging me, like, oh, my grandma's not going to be around anymore. I wasn't distraught about it, and I could function, but I was just like a little bit sad, and it was just like a pulling feeling, you know, in your chest or whatever, where it's like, you know, there's something you're supposed to be upset about. And that can happen when anything bad happens to you. But I discovered at the end of college, and after I got off drugs and alcohol, which I thought might be the cause of a lot of those things, is I would just wake up at like a 3. And then something would happen to me, like I would oversleep a little bit and put a little bit of stress on myself. For someone else, that would take them from a 5 to a 3.5 or a 4. And that would bring me down from a 3 to like a 1, where all of a sudden, like, I've overslept by 5 minutes, and I just might as well stay at home all day because everything's ruined. Mm-hmm. But I still didn't really know what anxiety was. I knew what depression was, and I started to pick up that I had a bit of an issue with it because it wasn't, I didn't have this when I was 15. Like, I would wake up feeling good and stuff. And just some things happened that I didn't deal with and it just like changed the composition of my brain. And we're like, in college, I started just waking up, not like grouchy or unhappy, just like sad, like just some feeling of like disappointment, like days seemed to be dragging on, and when I couldn't sleep at night, the night would last forever. And so I think I could define depression. I still didn't really know what anxiety was. And then a few years after that, I started getting what I realized were anxiety attacks. Like, I remember one time I was playing in a volleyball league, and we were all hanging out after, and all of a sudden I started thinking about, I had a pile of dirty laundry in my room at home. And before I knew it, it was just consuming me. And I'm thinking about this dirty laundry, and I'm like, dude, if I let that dirty laundry like sit there for any longer, I'm clearly never going to clean up anything in my room ever again. And like, I'm not going to be able to even see the floor of my bedroom, and it's so disgusting, and like, I'm so white trash. You go into my bedroom, and like, keep in mind, this is a pile of laundry, like in one corner of the room or something. But in my mind, it's already evolved to, it's covering the whole floor. And then my mom's going to go in there and see it, and see how disgusting I am, and kick me out. And like, this is just a metaphor for how I've been doing in school, because I know that I've not been doing as good as I can, and I just go and I worry about drinking and playing volleyball, and I don't focus on my academics. I get decent grades to keep my parents off the case, but that's just because I go in early and schedule the easiest classes I can, not because I'm actually trying hard. And like, if I'm not trying hard in school, then how am I ever going to expect to like get a good job? And I'm probably going to have to move back in. And so like, literally, I can still remember where I was when I'm freaking out, and like, I had literally convinced me that myself that like, my life is a failure and I might as well just drop off the face of the earth, because this little bit of laundry in my room represented that the rest of my life was going to be a failure. And at that moment in time, I was 100% certain of that. If you would describe that to me now, and I'd be like, oh yeah, man, you should probably go do your laundry, but that doesn't mean it's ruining your life. At that time, though, that laundry representing the bane of my existence, nothing could have been more true. And all that to say, I don't even remember, we said your thing may have been an anxiety attack, and I've been watching through The Sopranos, and that's a big thing where Tony Soprano's supposed to be some big tough guy. Then it turns out he's been suffering from panic attacks his whole life. Like, he'll just pass out. It's because something will trigger him, or he'll get so overwhelmed in a situation that his body just like shuts down and can't handle it.
Yeah.
And Another example was I had to work late one night, and I had a soccer game, and this was probably before you ever even knew me. It was really, really early in my career in Arizona, probably 6 months in or so. But I had a soccer game, and I had to work late. I didn't know. I just got stuck in a meeting, and long story short, I was going to miss like the first quarter or first half of this soccer game. And on the way, I'm thinking to myself, like, geez, dude, like, I'm the goalie, man. Like, no one else is the goalie. My whole team's counting on me to play goalie. And, like, if I'm really, really letting my team down here, and, like, if my team can't count on me, then how could anybody count on me? Like, how could my coworkers count on me? I'm just going to let them down like I let my team down, and I'm, like, such a failure for letting my team down. And if I'm this much of a failure letting my team down, I'm definitely going to run into those same problems letting my team at work down. And if I'm letting my team at work down, they're not going to keep me around the office for very long. And once I get fired from there, if I wasn't good enough for that job, then there's no way I'd ever be good enough for another job. And I've got to figure out what I'm going to do about my rent and stuff, because I don't think I can move back in with my parents. I don't know if I have enough money to drive all the way back there and, like, try to find a new job. So I guess I'm just going to have to, like, be homeless now. And there's a I-17 overpass that I'm going to, and, like, in that moment, and I hope that I took small enough steps there where you could kind of follow. Like, okay, so it's not logical to think that me being late for the soccer game was going to end up with me living under a bridge, but all of those small steps, like, while some of them were a little unreasonable, like, if I let my coworkers down, I'm going to get fired. It definitely wasn't the level of stretch that it was from missing the soccer game to living under a bridge. Yeah. Like, there were just a bunch of little things, and I was thinking just unclear enough that those things made total sense to me that I started, like, hyperventilating and, like, breathing really heavy, and my heart was beating really fast because me being late for the soccer game, there was just no two ways about it, dude. I was going to be homeless.
Yeah. Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. No, I know I have to be careful saying that I can identify with stuff like that, because I know there are people that have it a lot worse, and they'll freak out if you say you know how they feel. I dated a girl once who had depression and has struggled with suicide a couple times, and so I know it's like a really touchy subject. So my response is basically, I'm not going to claim that I have anxiety or depression as much as anyone else. And I'm not going to claim, maybe I don't even have it to the extent that it's a disease for me. But I am going to say that I've felt stuff like that. Like, I've, you know, for me, a big one is health stuff. Like, if I have a sore tooth or a sore side, I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to the hospital. I might never come out. Like, do I even have phone service here? Could I get an ambulance out here? Like, that happens to me on a fairly, and when it's at its worst, it gets more to the daily, like, lower rating anxiety that you were, or whatever, depression that you were talking about. I've gone for probably months at a time where
showering.
Yeah. No, well, maybe, but months at a time where probably 5 days a week I spend like 3 or 4 hours just, like, hardly able to move, like, because I'm worried something might be wrong with my big toe or who knows what. I don't know about my big toe, but, like, you know, like, is it my appendix? Am I gonna, and so, yeah, a couple, like, it comes and goes, but worst case for me has been, like, a couple months at a time where several days a week I'll spend several hours just freaking out.
Despite everything that I said, where my brain can go from, I'm going to be late for this soccer game, therefore I am going to lose everything that I have, I've never gotten anxiety about any health things. I've had a shooting pain in the left side of my chest every morning when I've woken up for probably like 6 years now. And whenever I'm in bed in the
morning, you might have to get that checked out, dude.
And I just never worry about it. It, like, doesn't bother me. It's like really uncomfortable in the morning. Like, if I ever take a deep breath before I stand up for the day, out of bed, it feels like someone's hit me with a knife, like kind of like 75% of the way down my ribs on the left side. I have no idea what it is. It doesn't matter like what side I sleep on. It is, in terms of like if I'm sleeping on either shoulder. It's worse if I wake up and I'm laying on my stomach. But yeah, it's always this like this thing in my left side, and I don't know if it's a problem with like fluid in my lungs, or I've got like a strained muscle in my rib cage that I just use every day, so it's never healed or anything like that. But yeah, it's weird that we have different like trigger subjects where you think stubbing your toe is going to require an ambulance, and I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure something's wrong with my heart, but it's okay. However, being late for the soccer game means my life is over.
Yeah. Yeah, health is a big one for me.
I guess I'm just more welcoming of death than you are.
Well, that's... It, like I said, it comes and goes. And at the times when it's better, it kind of does boil down to that. You got to be open, like, one day I'm going to die, and everyone does.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. I mean, it is, but no. I do also, more on the depression spectrum, that hit me a little more like high school, maybe like freshman year of college, partly because of this girlfriend, and then we broke up, and I'm sure that didn't help with depression. Which, again, that's another situation where it's like, well, it might not be a disease in that case. You might just be really sad for a while. So that's why I'm not going to say for sure it's a disease. But I have felt stuff like that. But also in high school, I would, my parents had two houses, one near the school and one about an hour away with a farm. I hated the farm. So I got a job near the school at Chick-fil-A. Mm-hmm. Because then I'm like, oh, shoot, I won't have to go to the farm on weekends. I can work down here and just stay by myself. Those Saturdays, like my shift might not start till 4 p.m., 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Those Saturdays where no one's in the house, like I could play video games to distract myself for like 2 or 3 hours. But then like if you get up to go find some food, I would feel pretty low. Like I'm just all alone. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, you've accomplished nothing thus far today.
Yeah. So that's.
I used to get like that at night. I've always had problems sleeping, falling asleep, and then waking up. And I don't know what the problem falling asleep is, but the doctors have told me that waking up has been a problem for me because I don't go into a deep enough sleep, and therefore, 5 hours of my sleep, somebody else could accomplish that amount of restfulness in 3. So I just I sleep more than the average person. I need more sleep, but I also have a lot of trouble falling asleep at night. It's kind of a hard cycle because I have problems falling asleep naturally until 2 or 3 a.m. And then honestly, if I just let myself sleep, I could probably go until about 4 in the afternoon. Like, if there's ever a weekend where I don't have anything to do and I, for some reason, don't set an alarm, I could very easily wake up and it's like almost dinner time. But I used to be watching TV at my parents' house, like in high school, and I was older than my brothers and sisters, so they weren't really at the age where they had like carte blanche as far as the weekend bedtime goes. And, I was probably 14 through 16. I'd just be allowed to stay up on the weekends, and I'd watch, like, Saturday Night Live. And I remember, or during the summers, I'd be watching, like, the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. And then, so that would end at 1:30. And then on Saturday Night Live would end at 1 a.m. And after that, we lived in an area where you couldn't get cable. It was just too rural. We only had over the air. And there was literally nothing else on. Like, some of the channels would just go off air. It would be black or just be snow. Or they would just have infomercials. And I would just have, like, moments of panic where I'm like, oh, geez, dude. Like, nothing is on TV. There's nothing for me to do right now except for sleep. And I can't do it. And I'm just going to lie here until the morning comes. And the night is so long. And what's the worst part about that is I know the night is coming again tomorrow.
Man, there are times when I wonder, I've probably joked about this on the show, but, my mental state is, Okay, I'll just tell the freaking story. Oh, it must have been 8th, 9th grade. It was similar. It was late at night. I couldn't sleep. And I just started getting this weird feeling. I'm like, whether it was depression or just like, maybe it was exhaustion. I have no idea. Maybe I wasn't sleeping much. I decided it would be a good idea. Probably I didn't stay up late at that age, so it could have easily been like 11:30, like not super late. I just felt like I feel weird and I need to do something weird. I walked out. This was at a different farm that we lived at. I got up, super quiet. We were renting this house for a few years. There was like 5 of us living in it, and it was like 2 bedrooms. I walked, like quiet as I could, opened the door. I walked out. I walked like 300 yards to the barn. I climbed up the ladder to where all the hay bales were, and I slept the rest of the night just on a hay bale in the barn. Because...
Did you sleep well?
Yeah, I guess so. I've never had trouble sleeping. Like, yeah, like it's very rare. Like, yeah, I don't know. Because I guess I couldn't sleep for a while. I don't know how I slept once I was out there. But I guess the weirdest thing, and like I said, it makes me wonder sometime about my mental state overall. Like, I just had this feeling. I had to do it. And I was just so fed up with being alone in my bed, whatever. Or maybe I was fed up with being around my family so tight, so close. I don't know. But I was so fed up with something that made me do something so weird. And I don't know what it is or why. Similar thing, in college one night, I was alone. I had a cigar. I'm sure nicotine can mess with the head a little bit.
Yeah, probably if you're smoking a whole, especially if you were inhaling. I don't know if you would have been, but
I don't think I've never really inhaled cigars.
You when you're first starting out?
Never, no. But right. I decided after a cigar, at this point maybe it was like 1 a.m., I decided I would walk like 9 miles, maybe like 7 and 8 miles to the next college and sleep on my friend's back porch. He was already out by the time I got there at like 3 or 4 a.m. So I couldn't get into his apartment, and I just slept on his back porch with a comforter.
You walked 8 miles with a comforter?
Yep.
Yeah, that is weird.
I told you, sometimes I wonder.
Could always be a lot worse, though.
Agreed.
And
agreed.
I definitely don't have the cleanest bill of mental health, but it's not something that I feel the need to share with anybody, or I don't think that it affects me or other people's perception of me negatively enough where I need to like announce it at work, like to people I manage or my manager, like, hey, you're going to need to bear with me because I have these mental health things that sometimes just prohibit me from functioning. It's any problems I have, I can usually suck it up for a day. I mean, there have been times where I've been a 25-year-old man just in my apartment alone crying because I didn't know why I was sad, and that was like upsetting me almost as much as being sad, just because I was doing really well at work at the time. Like I was having a really good luck in the love interest category. Like everything was going well for me. And I remember just being in my apartment, like, crying because I didn't know why I was so sad, and I felt so sad. So, I mean, I've definitely had some rough moments, and, a general nagging feeling of depression isn't something that I would want anyone else to face. But it hasn't crippled my entire life. Like, I'm not going to kill myself, and I'm not going to get fired from a job or something because of it. And I know that that's a reality that a lot of people face. So I'm saying that I can sympathize with anyone who says that they have it worse than me, because I absolutely believe them, and I've dealt with it just enough to totally understand that, like, it's real. And when I was driving to that soccer game, I wasn't, like, just trying to think of the worst case scenario. Like, something happened in my brain that set me off, and then all of a sudden I legitimately believed that like the worst thing in the world was going to happen to me, and there was nothing I could do about it. And you know, it was the same feeling of like if say you know something really bad is going to happen to you. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a car crash, but say you have, and there's the moment where like, okay, you just swerve to avoid something off the road, or you know, you swerve to avoid something on the road, and you're going into the ditch. And you haven't hit the ditch yet, but you have just a few moments of like, I know something really bad is going to happen. Mm-hmm. That's the same feeling I had in my car. Like, I know I am going to lose my job and become homeless because of this. And it wasn't something that you could have disputed with me at the time. And I think I'm really lucky to live in like the age that we do. So I can see a doctor about it, or I can go online and see other people's scenarios, and I've gotten way better. I've had way less of like attacks in the last few years where I've gotten shortness of breath or something like that, because I start to evaluate and go from like, okay, does me being late for the soccer game, I can kind of more objectively think about it. Okay, maybe I'm letting my team down. Does that necessarily, like, you know, I can take a step back and be like, wait a minute, Ryan. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're just going to not show up at work tomorrow. And kind of catch myself in some of those early steps when I'm still hanging on to rationality.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all that to say, you know, if anyone out there is suffering with anxiety or depression, especially if you're dealing with those things, and they're being more destructive in your life than they are to me, you know, there's no... the stigma about it has changed, and out of the very, very few people that I've told about it, I think that even like at our work, where the couple people I've told about it, they're all very, very conservative and like old school thinking. Even they realize that, like, you know, guys who are still up in the air about like, is global warming real, or maybe Obama's still a Muslim, they are able to accept that like anxiety or depression is like a legitimate thing that happens in people's brains, and they're not just being weak. So that stigma isn't as strong as it used to be. So yeah, if you're dealing with those things, absolutely go seek help. And if you were already thinking bad thoughts about yourself, I doubt you've made it through 53 minutes of this podcast. Or an hour and 20 minutes, you know, without blowing your brains out.
Started out with unicorns, ended up here somehow.
But so I'm kind of at a weird spot, because if I stop it now and we don't recover the earlier footage, it's going to be an episode that's shorter than normal. But also, if we have we do have the earlier recording, it's going to be like, we're pushing too long.
I don't... 53 is plenty, I would say. Okay,
so it's not too short, and if we can add, we expected somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That we would have lost earlier, so if we can get that back, then we're...
If we found it and tacked it onto the beginning and you're still here, good work. Good work.
Yeah, you'd be, like almost an hour and 15, 10, hour 20 in. But that's it. That's all I have to say this week.
That's all I got. It's a tough world out there, but you can take them.
Yeah, you can. I don't know if I can. But... Anyways, I don't know how to end it, because this is like by far the most serious conversation I have ever had on this, that it feels like it's like a completely different show.
Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's...
maybe people actually like this one.
We'll find out. Hit us up. Tweet me or something. You can email me, Daniel@meandbtc.com. I'll also do one final mention for our sponsor. Thanks a ton to eToro. meandbtc.com/trade.
I'm Ryan, that's Dan. This has been Unpopular Opinions. I don't know when you're listening, but in case it's in the morning, good morning, afternoon, good afternoon, evening, good evening, or if it's late at night, then good night, my friend.
Possibly Merry Christmas.
Maybe have like a listening party, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Merry Christmas. I don't know.
Who knows?
Have a good one.